Welcome to the Mediterranean. In this three-part video series, we will cover the military operations on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in the Second World War. The main character of this video is Italy. This is Italy's territory, and Italy has a dream. It is not to be limited by its borders. Italy wants to own its present lands, but also all these lands, and in addition, indirectly rule over all of this territory. But there are two major powers that prevent Italy from achieving its dream. These are Great Britain and France, who have captured a lot of land on the coast of the Mediterranean and have made alliances with smaller nations in the region. The military potential of Britain and France is much greater than that of Italy, and this prevents Italy from realizing its dream of expansion. As a result, during the run-up to the Second World War, Italy was only able to conquer distant Ethiopia, which was not in the Mediterranean region, and occupy a small nation of Albania. Its imperial ambitions remained unfulfilled. Now enter Germany. Germany is a country in Central Europe, which really did not like Britain and France. In the prelude of the Second World War, Germany expanded its military and territory until it became powerful enough to challenge the alliance of Britain and France. In May of 1940, it attacked France and defeated the French military, putting France on the brink of surrendering. With the French military defeated, Italy was opposed only by Britain and saw this as an opportunity to conquer the lands it wanted. The first goal was to make use of the weakening of France to take some of its territories in the Western Mediterranean. With this, land warfare around the Mediterranean began. The French forces were distracted by the German invasion, and they did not have much troops to defend the border against a very large Italian force. The problem with the Italian plan was that the border between the two countries went through high mountains, and where the passes through the mountains existed, the French had built strong fortifications. The Italians attempted to storm the French fortifications, but due to the difficult terrain, failed to achieve success, until some days later, Germany and France ended the fighting, after which Italy had to also end its hostilities with France. Italy had failed to break through the French defenses and occupy large parts of France. This meant that Italy could not exchange it for the French territory it wanted. So, it postponed its expansion in the western part of the Mediterranean and set out to assert its dominance in the eastern part of the sea. One Italian offensive was to occupy Greece and secure the northern coast of the sea, and an offensive into British-controlled Egypt could secure the southern coast. First, we will look into the offensive against Greece. Italians invaded Greece in October of 1940 with the goal of occupying the country. For this, they needed 20 divisions. But then, due to the incompetence of the Italian authoritarian government, there was some miscalculation and shenanigans, and Italy ended up invading Greece with only 4 divisions. Things didn't go well. The Italian forces were expected to capture the western part of Greece, but near the sea they were stopped by the Greek forces on the first river line, and in the mountains their offensive completely failed. After this failure, the Italians rushed their remaining divisions in Albania to the Greek border, but they were still not stronger than the Greek army, which Greece now mobilized. Greece wanted to capture the Albanian port of Valona, so that Italy could not bring in more divisions. The first offensive was launched in the north, where the Greek forces occupied the area that was relatively flat. The Italians retreated into the mountains and stopped the Greeks on the highest part of the mountain range. In the south, the Greeks attempted to move towards Valona. They were able to advance along the valleys through the high mountains and were about to break out of the defensible high mountain terrain. The Italians brought in major reinforcements and made a stand on the last major heights. The Greeks continued their offensive, but could only make small advances, and the Italian line held. The Italians then attempted to launch a major attack to push the Greeks out of Albania. The Greeks were dug in, and with some British help, they repelled the Italian offensive. Italy realized that it would be difficult to defeat Greece on its own, and it asked Germany for help. Germany did not want to see its enemy Britain gain a foothold in Greece and agreed to send forces to help Italy out. The German troops began concentrating in Bulgaria to attack Greece from the east. This is where the first stage of the Italian invasion of Greece ended. Meanwhile, in Rome. Mr. Mussolini, the plan to conquer Greece has failed. We sent too few divisions and now they have been pushed back. How is this possible? From the newspapers I read that the Greeks will not fight back. The Italian army is invincible and its leader the greatest genius. But our Italian news is set up to glorify Italy and you as the leader. They are biased in that respect. If only there was a way to read news and learn about what biases they carry, so that we could finally understand what is going on. In the 21st century, there finally is a way to do that thanks to Ground News, the world's first news comparison platform. As you are watching this video, you probably like tanks. Some time ago, Germany decided to send tanks to Ukraine, and we'll see how it has been covered by news outlets all over the world. Would you expect that this news has mostly been picked up by left-wing outlets? Ground News rates the political bias of the outlets covering this story, and here you can see that out of the outlets whose bias can be tracked, it has been covered by 7 left-wing outlets compared to 3 right-wing ones. Below that, I can see the geographic distribution of the story. Here I can see that it has been covered in some countries in the Americas and Europe, but interestingly not in Russia, which would be directly influenced by this development. If before I just got the story from one outlet, with Ground News I can gain a more nuanced picture by comparing how it is covered by outlets with different biases. It is time to make use of technology to improve the way we read the news. Check out Ground News by going to ground.news/history. By doing that, you will also support this channel. Thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the Mediterranean. Parallel with the invasion of Greece, the Italian forces attempted to invade Egypt. Here, the fighting was much different than in Albania. The terrain was open desert, without a continuous front line, and it was easily traversed by vehicles, such as tanks and trucks, which gave great advantage to the side that had more of them. Italy had few vehicles in the region, but a lot of soldiers. The Italians invaded Egypt with a large force, but due to the lack of trucks, had to then halt and wait until enough supplies would be brought up for them to continue the offensive. The British, on the other hand, had few soldiers, but these were well equipped with vehicles. While the Italians were waiting for the supplies, the British sent their forces on a raid against the Italian positions. They deployed 1 motorized and 1 armored division against 6 Italian divisions. These forces outflanked the Italian positions and bypassed them. They then turned around and attacked the Italian forces from behind. The Italians were caught unprepared and their forces disintegrated. Most of the Italians were taken prisoner. The remaining Italian forces retreated into the fortress of Bardia. The British soon encircled the fortress. The Italians could not make use of the fortifications, and after only some days of the assault by the British, they surrendered. The British then moved against the port town of Tobruk, where another Italian division had fortified itself. After a brief assault, the town was taken. The Italians had only 2 remaining formations in the eastern part of Libya. The British bypassed them by moving through the desert and cut them off from their path of retreat, which forced these units to surrender. With this, the British had cleared the eastern Libya from Italian forces and eliminated the threat to Egypt. Now, the freed up forces were sent to Greece to aid it against the possible German invasion. But even with the British reinforcements, the Greek army was too small to withstand an attack by Italy and Germany together. Meanwhile, there was a pro-Allied coup in Yugoslavia, which made the country friendly to Britain and Greece. So the British outlined a plan. The Yugoslav forces would attack the Italians in Albania from behind and cut them off from supply by capturing the ports, which would force the Italian forces in Albania to surrender. Then the Greeks could use these forces to repel the German invasion. The Germans learned of the British plan and prepared to attack both Greece and Yugoslavia. Part of the Yugoslav army was deployed along its borders, while the other part was still mobilizing. On the 6th of April, the Germans attacked. The Germans first struck the Yugoslavian forces in the south. The Yugoslavian division facing the German armored division was overrun. Another division moved out against the Germans and suffered the same fate. The Germans quickly dispersed the Yugoslavian forces on the border with their infantry and armored divisions, and also dispersed the Yugoslavian forces deeper behind their lines. Then the German forces moved south into Greece to join the Greek campaign. Some days later, 4 German divisions overran a Yugoslavian division guarding the border. The German armored division now moved behind the Yugoslav defenses and headed for Belgrade, the Yugoslav capital. In the north of Yugoslavia, the things were equally bleak for the defenders. These lands were populated by Croats and Slovenians, who did not want to be ruled from Belgrade and wanted independence. As a result, the soldiers of these nationalities began deserting the Yugoslavian formations, which fatally weakened them. When the main German attack started, a German armored division easily overran the weakened Yugoslavian forces and quickly occupied Zagreb, the political center of Croatia. This resulted in the collapse of the remaining resistance against the Germans in Croatia. This allowed another German armored division to drive behind the Yugoslavian lines, practically unopposed towards Belgrade. Having encountered great setbacks, the Yugoslavians now attempted to retreat and resist the Germans in the bad tank country in the mountains. But these units could not reach the mountains in force. As a result, the Yugoslavians could not create a solid defensive line and could not prevent the Germans from advancing into the mountains. The Germans occupied the center of the remaining Yugoslavian resistance in the city of Sarajevo. The Yugoslav military was now left without the strategy to resist the Germans and surrendered. The surrender temporarily broke the resistance and organization of the Yugoslavian forces. But in the next few years, a strong Yugoslavian resistance movement would be organized in the mountains, which would cause many problems for the Axis. Some Yugoslavian forces had attempted to attack the Italian forces in Albania, but due to the collapse of the rest of their army in just 2 weeks, they did not have time to make much progress. This left the Greek forces bearing the brunt of both of the German and Italian offensives, which they could not resist. The Greek forces were deployed with their main force in Albania and weaker force on the Bulgarian border. In central Greece there was the motorized British Expeditionary Force and some Greek divisions. The German forces assaulted the Greek defenses on the Bulgarian border, while their tank division made use of the collapse of the Yugoslavian forces and outflanked the Greek defensive line from the Yugoslavian territory. After the Germans had reached the sea and cut off the Greek defensive line, the Greek forces on the Bulgarian border surrendered. Meanwhile, other Germans had passed through the Yugoslavian territory and were now moving into Greece from the north. The British and the Greeks fell back to suitable defensive positions in their mountains to hold the line, while Greece attempted to withdraw its forces from Albania. But this was not enough. The German armor soon overran the Greek divisions and moved behind the Greek forces, which were in the process of withdrawal. Being cut off from the path of retreat by the Germans, the Greek army surrendered. The British now decided that they did not want to stay in mainland Greece anymore and withdrew and evacuated their forces by sea to the Greek island of Crete, while the rest of Greek mainland was overrun by the Germans. But soon the Germans followed them by launching an airborne assault on the island. The British decided to abandon the island and withdrew their forces. With this, all of Greek territory was under Axis control and the Greek campaign was over. Meanwhile, the British forces were shipped to Egypt. They were badly needed there, because after the defeat of Greece, both Germany and Italy sent more troops to Libya. These forces would now move along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea to conquer the British colony of Egypt, and full-scale war would once again flare up in the desert, with tactics that had never been seen before. We will cover it in the next episode.